time for Cutting Edge Consciousness with Freeman Michaels and Barnet Bain. Thought-provoking discussions and bold ideas from the edge of possibility.
And welcome to Cutting Edge Consciousness. Freeman Michaels here.
With Barnet Bain. Good moment, everyone. I'm leaning in. We have I see we have some technical challenges in the studio.
That's okay.
Today.
We
Just
like
one
it.
or two, but
We
I love this.
We like
mic.
to be on our toes.
I like the mic arrangement. I could probably use some chiropractic. Stand by.
Stand by with chiropractic.
We're gonna make this work.
That's what we do around
It's a
here.
new look.
It's good for you.
Yeah.
It's good lean.
So
good
it's
leaning.
As always, there is so much going on. There's so much chaos, either beautiful chaos or catastrophic chaos, depending on how you want to, where you're coming from and where you're going to. But it's particularly interesting today in this country. For those of you who are listening elsewhere, you may not be aware that we have quite a, I'm not going to say dysfunctional, maybe it's a new functional. Maybe it's a neo-functional government going on. But there's all kinds of tension in the land because the administration is going to announce something that some are saying is within his prerogative, and some are saying it is not. And I'll be that as it may. My point is that I'm not sure whether we have a sense of citizenry, of citizenship in this land. I don't know. We have a lot of position.
Yeah.
I don't really get a sense that we have a sense of community and that we operate as citizens. And I wonder if there is a relationship, if that is somehow related to our tendency to want to slice and dice reality, to parcel it out, to chop it into, take this whole big picture and slam it into a jigsaw puzzle and try and parse out every little thing. And I don't have a sense that as a community, as a culture, as a country, there is a compassion for how we might act with a holistic view. We don't have a framework for that anymore.
Yeah. And I'm going to call it an addiction to rightness, to my position.
Well, an addiction to rightness, to the whole idea of right and wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
and us and them. It's the separation game. I mean, what we're caught in right now is this giant separation. And look, in the mindset of separation, there's always the enemy, and the enemy is other. It's what's not me, right? And that's what, the shrill that you like to call it, the kind of screaming pundits on either side.
Yeah.
I'm not being positional and saying, because I'm not interested in the positions, frankly.
I'm gonna sort of rise even go one or two stories above that one. I'm not even talking about separation or right and wrong. I'm not even talking about that. Because there is, in being human, there is the digital side of things, which is about slicing and dicing. We would not have made all of the wonders without being able to engage the inner engineer. So I'm not talking about that. There is a place for that. I'm talking about up-leveling our game so that that there is a paradox, so that we can live into a paradox, so we can live into a mystery that while we have the slicing and dicing going on, simultaneously, can we also engage a holistic experience?
And the good news is we have someone here today who I think can help us with this quandary.
Exactly. What a coincidence, right?
We brought the right guy.
We just tried the right guy.
And he's in studio.
And I brought a prop. I want you to know, this is my third copy of this. So
wow.
I'm doing quite well.
You're tearing it up. You're like
every time I get one, somebody sits down and picks it up off my desk and
can I borrow this?
And so once that happens, I know I better get another one. I'll never see it again.
Yeah.
Third one. So I'm talking, of course, about New Self, New World, authored by our guest, Philip Shepard, who is, in addition to being quite a Renaissance man, he's sitting here with us for those of you.
And he's a Canadian. We hustled him all the way down from Toronto.
We did. An actor, a teacher, a workshop leader, an author, and our guest on Cutting Edge Consciousness.
Welcome, Philip.
Could be better. You. Thank you. Lovely to be here. Thank you.
So this matter of the matter of mattering. There is something deadened in our ability to relate as citizens. There is not a passionate sense of citizenship. And am I barking completely up the wrong tree here, or is it somehow related to this problem of being dissociated?
Oh, I think it's deeply related. As you were talking about that, I was thinking, what if Obama tried that line of Kennedy's, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for who would buy that these days? And in the kind of world view that my book takes, that my work takes, what we've done as a culture is something that happens in the body, where we are so much living in the head.
Disassociated.
You live in the head, you don't feel the body, but the head, like the specialty of the head is to gain perspective. It's the digital thing. It's so valuable to have perspective, but the problem is, to gain perspective, you need the distance. You don't gain perspective with your face right into something. And so that, that separation from the body, that ability to sit up in the head and sort of see something and get an objective perspective on it is hugely valuable. But we don't know what to do with the perspective.
Well, it's also context issues. Look, the head integrated with the body, with the gut and with the heart, delivers a different message than the head isolated from the other two. The disassociation throws off the entire context, which I think is fundamentally what we're talking about. There's no deeper context. The positionality I'm calling it an addiction to being positional, and no perspective to see a greater sense of whole. There is no dialogue. There's a shrill. There's a yelling match.
In my way of thinking, there is no whole. There is no felt whole if you're in your head. So the way you inhabit your body is like you're choosing a lens on the world. So you live in your head, and it discloses a shattered world of individual bits that are bounded within themselves, and you experience yourself in the same way.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah, and then, but when you do drop down deep into the body and come to rest on the pelvic floor, you escape that subject-object paradigm that is so sticky, that we're just bound in, and you come into a place of kinship, almost, where you feel the kinship of a cup of tea. Even there's not. It is a felt world, and what is ultimately felt through the world is the wholeness and the mystery that makes that wholeness possible.
So I'm going to speak on behalf of the one or two of our listeners who one or two, or maybe
we probably have more than two.
One or two, or maybe three who are wondering, huh? So I spent the better part of 60 years assuming that my thoughts were to be felt in my head. They were concepts of thoughts, and then my wife very patiently would say, take a breath, take another breath, take another breath, take 3 breaths. And then one day, she had me take a breath, and I felt an aliveness. I felt a sense of, it was like it's almost a vibratory experience. It's, if any of you listening have ever had the experience of hyperventilating, I mean, we have all sorts of head trippy stuff, of judgments about what's really going on there. But in fact, the hyperventilation is moving us out of our head's love affair with the status quo into an experience of aliveness. And that felt sense of handling more than your cognitive capacity That felt sense is an experience. That's a doorway to enchantment. I mean, that is the beginning. That is the beginning of wholeness.
Absolutely, and what you're showing up in a way for me is the wound of our culture, which is that we have separated our thinking from our being. We believe we can think more clearly, efficiently, effectively if we don't have to deal with all that
messiness,
feeling, the messiness, the aliveness, the juice. And the reality is, when you allow your thinking to unite with that juice, the enchantment is made possible, and the thinking acquires a clarity that is only made possible by its relationship or its affinity to wholeness.
Because it's messy, though. I mean, that's the critical piece. Look, I often say this, that feelings in their natural state are mixed. But the head likes to delineate, right? To segment them off and then draw even a conclusion as to why I'm feeling a certain way. What I'm feeling only gets to be one thing: sad, mad, whatever it is. It's one thing.
Labeled,
compartmentalized, and then broken down to the simplest. Versus being able to be with the complexity, being able to be with the messiness of it all in a way that's graceful.
Well, graceful is the word, because the capacity, when your thinking unites with your being, there is a capacity for congruence and harmony that is, our marriage to control is sort of precluding an experience of harmony, because control and harmony are opposites. Control is like imposing an order on a given system, and harmony is when every part of that system can answer to every other part. I think of these YouTube videos of the starlings. I don't know if you've seen them.
Those
like
are wonderful.
A quarter of a million birds in this cloud that condenses and sublimates and walks.
Yeah, they're not thinking about it. The starlings aren't thinking about how to do this.
They haven't got little headsets telling them where to fly and when they're feeling left. That's it. Yeah, it'd be a disaster if someone tried to achieve that through the means of control. So harmony, is not just a more effective means of moving with the world, but my goodness, it feels better.
We have a referent for a relationship with the body, for an attuned somatic experience. We all have a referent for it. It's called sex.
Oh yeah.
So, and even in the case of sex, it's very possible and quite likely that many of us from time to time
check out
or are thinking, but
thinking is not good for sex.
It's not,
by the way,
it's absolutely not good for sex.
Right.
Precisely. But when we're fully engaged in lovemaking and fully present in lovemaking, the mental function, it recedes it takes an entirely different position. It notices. It doesn't run a commentary, and it doesn't direct, and it doesn't supply connotations and solutions and alternatives.
And how is this going?
How is this for many of us, it doesn't ask questions like, how am I doing? For many of us, not necessarily all of us.
Well, this is actually illustrated. I mean, Woody Allen is kind of classic for, where the head gets into matters it doesn't belong in. That's the neuroses that he kind of represents. And I love in his movies how he does. He creates that commentary where his head... Well, even as a voiceover sometimes, where he VOs the awkwardness, of a position, of a particular situation, like making love, where he.
Well, making love. My point about the making love is it is an experience, an embodied experience, largely feeling states.
Yes.
That have nothing to do with processing experience through the cognitive faculties. They have nothing to do with it. More to do with, as the poets wrote, the body electric.
Yeah.
So we don't have too many opportunities to tap into this idea of the body electric.
It makes me think there's this dialectic between energy and idea. And idea is frozen energy. And in that experience of lovemaking, your experience is an experience of energy that can't be named, that can't be categorized. It's just running through you, and you experience it. Again, it's like that separation between thinking and being, and that surrender to the energy of your life in this moment. It's something that doesn't make idea unnecessary or irrelevant, but it allows it to soften and inform the experience rather than manhandling it.
Manhandling it is such an evocative, I mean, it's such a perfect language for this. I mean, we do have these somatic experiences, enchanted experiences where we're absolutely connected with our aliveness. Then this cerebral, this overly active cerebral function takes it, structures it, organizes it, and then it sits in the body. It's just held, and so it's held as like these little captive islands of energy in the body, and gradually we it's like having like the neighborhood going to seed. So this one moves in, and then that one moves in, and pretty soon our bodies, our natural energy state is commandeered by all of these little pockets of organized energy, frozen energy, held in the body, and shows up as all kinds of dysfunction at personal level and at societal level.
What I love about this conversation is it started with the positional nature of our political arena these days.
What to do with the other.
Yeah. And how there is this lack of this overthought, this overanalyze, this control game, and the disconnection from the deeper, what's deeper, the whole, right, the body, that it is this giant shrill of head trip, of rightness, of positionalness. And it's not fulfilling for anyone. You know, it's a high to try to argue and fight and win, but it's not ever, there's no satisfaction in it. There's no joy in it. The joy is out of the discourse, you know.
And it cuts us off from a pulse of reality that we're so far divorced from at this point that we deny it. What I mean by that is I read recently about Australian Aborigines who send up smoke signals, and we think, oh, they're sending messages, and it turns out no. What a smoke signal is saying to your companion 20 miles away is, I need to talk. You see the smoke signal, and you both sit down 20 miles distant from each other and communicate. This is commonplace in cultures, and we sit up in our heads, and we have to call it an aberration or a coincidence, but it's not. You know, our bodies live in this fluid medium of the world's energy, and by withdrawing from that into our heads, we've basically lost our ability to believe things are possible that used to sustain us every day.
If you can't figure it out, if the head can't figure it out, then it has to be dismissed.
Yeah,
has to be. That's just the challenge. I mean, the mystery, the space, you know, of mystery where all creativity. We were all creative people. It's a gift. It's like we can enter that space. It's not an idea. It's not a concept. It's not something you can parcel out. It's something that you, like lovemaking.
It's a domain of experience, I think.
Yeah, you can't. Thinking in that context is not helpful. It's something that you know. So this is the conversation. This is what we want to talk about. Is how do we move through a kind of propensity to head trip and to get positional and try to figure things out.
What are you looking at me for? Look at him. He knows what he's talking about.
I'm talking about our problem. He's here to solve it.
I just read the book. He wrote it.
But here's my suggestion. My suggestion is actually that we take a break. And then when we get back, we figure all that out.
We'll get some answers. We'll be right back here.
So stay with us.